Hello, Be Awesome listeners. Happy Monday. I am super excited to start my week. I've had some smiles and good day so far, and I'm really excited to share a little bit of time with you with someone that I've just gotten to know in the last couple of months, and I just think she's doing phenomenal stuff in news and media and sharing stories. She actually wrote the first Be Awesome story that got printed and did a phenomenal job capturing my mission, and also a little bit about my purpose and reason and my why, and my grandfather even, which is something that I talk about in my public talks of the importance of saying thank you. And so I have from Gannett Media, Donna Whitehead. Donna, welcome to the Be Awesome podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is exciting because Donna writes the news and she puts together the stories, and it's not often that she's on the other side of the story or the lens. So I'm excited to pick your brain and get some stories and talk about the great things that you're doing for a little bit here, and celebrate what you're doing. So that's a hot off the presses story trying to get a hold of you.
So you can hear that buzz already.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can hear everything. It's like these microphones today are fantastic. No worries. This is a no edit, real life. You're probably going to hear my 2-year-old run down the hall and scream. My dog is at my feet and might bark. That's just what's going on. It's life. We're all dealing with the same stuff. So
that's everyone's home offices right now.
100%. So Donna, I reached out to you because I just think you're capturing some really great stories in an unprecedented, terrible time in history for us. Share a couple of your favorite stories over the last 3 weeks to open us up. I'll give you my favorites if you don't hit on them. I'm sure you will.
My favorite, what I've found in this is I've learned, particularly because my Mansfield paper is so old, is you kind of have to document what's happening in a local community at a historic time, and this is a historic time. But it's scary out there, and people are uncertain. And I found there's a lot of wonderful, positive things on the Facebook pages that I manage. And that's where I get a lot of my leads. And my favorite one was early in March. There's a young woman in her 20s named Jamie Pyro who lives in Mansfield. And she loves to sing. She's actually sung at Fenway Park. She was Miss Inspiration a few years ago. But her whole world goes thrown out because her whole schedule was gone. Her volunteer work was canceled. She was stuck at home, and her mom does outreach for special ed people too. So what she did is they started what they're calling the Jamie Tour, and it started with friends. And I went to their first performance, and Jamie stood outside these people's steps. Her friends came out on the front steps, and she sang to them. She carries her phone. She does. I understand she has a great Taylor Swift montage. She does a lot of great Disney, like Moana. She's a beautiful voice. She did like 3 numbers, and it was I think it's the last time I've been out of the house to cover anything. So and she too had to learn. Like when I got introduced to her, she tried to shake my hand, and I had to step back. And her mother was like, "No, remember, you can't do that," which is a challenge for all special ed parents. And she thought I was being very rude. So hopefully, when I meet her again. But you can see her, and it was such a fun story to do, and I got video of it. And you can see her on, if you go to Kim Pyro's Facebook page, you can see Jamie's tour, and she's been all over the state now, and she was on Channel 4 News, and it was just so, and people were applauding her. So it was great for her, it was great for the people. Yeah. And that made my week. At the same time, we're posting that cases are happening in town.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing behind, what I like what you're doing with a lot of your stories is that side of the world is still happening, and it still has to be shared. But I see a lot of organizations and things just polarizing the bad stuff, right? And just talking about all of the things that are happening that are not great. They're not focusing on a young girl going and singing in her neighborhood, or you did the McGuire's story too, right? That was you.
That's probably my other favorite. I've been really enjoying the videos. I even before this, I always admired Neil Levine. Has such a positive attitude through the whole sewer construction project and all that. And I started seeing his videos online, and I kept saying to my family, I go, when we're done, I'm going to go eat at McGuire's. I never go out to lunch for work that much, so that's on my to-do list. Yeah. So I reached out to him. It wasn't even sure, and he took the time, which I don't know where he has the energy. Yeah. And we chatted on the phone, and we talked about how he makes the videos, and because restaurants are having a terrible time. I've got my son and his girlfriend are laid off right now. They work in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And he feels bad. He worries about all the small owners that in an place like that. He goes, the corporations might be okay, but his friends that aren't making rent. And this was kind of a positive way to look at a situation that's actually really very serious.
Well, you know what it does? It also gives insight to what others can be doing that might be struggling, because a lot of it is mindset, right? What you said, and Neil was the second in my Be Awesome local podcast series, and you're right. We actually did two recordings. The first one recorded into the cloud, and we haven't found the cloud yet. But we did two recordings. And he's got tons of energy, and he's inspirational, and his mission is genuine, and he says it. He's like, hey, the rent's got to get paid, the insurance has got to get paid. These things are all need to get paid, but I also got 44 employees that are like family to him, because many of them have been there for a long time, and he wasn't going to sit on the sidelines to wait this out, figure it out, and then reopen and potentially lay people off. He created this whole, I mean, he's putting he's going through all these sanitizing classes. I see the certificates that he's getting, the changing of the takeouts, the curbside, the delivery. I actually had delivery Friday night, and it was amazing. Young woman gets out of her vehicle. She puts her gloves on. She grabs the bag. They take the bag and open it up and leave it on the doorstep. I mean, truly contactless. I mean, I don't want to give a huge another plug. Well, yes, I do. They're doing a phenomenal job, and it makes you feel as safe as you possibly could, while still supporting someone and a group and a company that they're taking care of. They implemented a $5 delivery charge, and 100% of every delivery is going back to that staff to make sure that they get paid, because sadly, I guess sometimes when people get deliveries, they don't tip. I mean, just really, really great. And I thought you captured the mission and the story so well. And like you say, while you have people directly related to you that are laid off, that are in the restaurant industry. So I commend you on that. I'm going to put you on the spot because I didn't ask you this before, but
okay.
What do you figure, what's your favorite, like what's the best story you've ever done in your career? Like what's the story that just sticks out in your head? And you can say the Be Awesome one because that's okay. But what's that story?
Well, aside from the Be Awesome one,
yeah.
No, it's pretty easy. A number of years ago, when we were, there's a person in our company who has a Bruce Springsteen blog, Pete Chianca, and he heard about a young boy that has, I forget he had a very severe disability, and he's been in and out of the hospital. He's a Mansfield kid. I forget how old he was at his time, and his name, it'll come to me. But his family, they're huge Springsteen fans. And he goes to the concerts. He loves the music. Now he'd been in children's for like a month, because when he gets sick, he goes downhill really fast. And he was on the Make-A-Wish list, and his wish was to meet Bruce Springsteen. But I guess it had been dragging on. It just wasn't happening. So Pete had heard about this. He reached out to me because we cover Mansfield, and said, maybe we could do something on it. So we reached out to Chrissy, his mom. What's his name? I feel bad. I can't remember his name. But so we did a story. Sue Weinstein, my reporter, and Charlene McNeil, my photographer who just retired. Charlene hates to go to Boston. They went into children's. They interviewed the family because he still couldn't come out of. I felt so bad I can't remember his name, and I would Google it right now, but I don't want to lose you. So we did the story, and because we had started, we were just online maybe a year then. We posted the story on, I think it was Thursday mid-morning, and the paper doesn't come out till Friday. It was picked up immediately. I think it was by Channel 5. By 5 o'clock on Thursday, Make-A-Wish had Bruce Springsteen because he was coming to Boston in like 2 weeks, which is why we're pushing it. By 5 o'clock, the date was set, and we made the wish happen. And it looked like there'd just been some kind of bureau. I don't think it was Springsteen's camp. I don't think they were connecting, because we were like, Bruce Springsteen would definitely come see this kid. And it happened instantly.
Yeah.
And it was just so good to see something that it dragged on for like a year.
Yeah.
To make that connection happen and be a part of it, and it like picked up and it was great. That was you felt we really made a difference.
That's fantastic, and totally get the Springsteen. I was not a fan. My fiance Amy is a huge fan, and a couple of years ago, might even been that show. He was coming to Gillette, so I got tickets. I don't go to many shows. I don't go to large, as a rule. I don't go to large events. It's funny. I tell people these kind of my some of my quirkiness things, and they're like, "Yeah, but you're a keynote speaker and stand in front of thousands of people and go to these conferences and everything." I'm like, "Yeah, but when I'm home, I like solitude a little bit. I like my
Right.
space and everything else. I don't like going to 70,000 seat stadiums and watching shows and everything that I could watch on TV." But we went to Gillette, and I was captivating what this person does and his fan base, and I'm sure it's largely because he does stuff like that, like catches wind of something and says, "Hey, let's make this thing happen. Let's help. Let's go and see this young boy, and I'm sure he does countless things like that, pulls people up on stage and everything." That's a great story, and one of those things that you feel like that you've done something and made a difference and an impact with the story, right? You get a result. It's not
Right.
just telling a story.
Yeah, for me, it's more stuff like that than I mean, a lot of people think reporters love the deaths, the tragic accidents. If I don't have to write another tragic accident for the rest of my life, I would be very happy. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't want to see your community suffer. I mean, you kind of have to take that moment and turn it into the best of it and document it and share that person's story. But I'd much rather not have that story to do if that's the
Yeah, I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to tell the 9/11 story, and because I had that mindset, I'll be the first to admit for a long time, and I've had a couple of stories, not around Be Awesome, but I was interviewed for a couple of different stories through my life where, I was asked a question, why am I doing this, or why am I being? I can remember when my friend Todd was want to paddle a giant pumpkin a couple of years ago, and I paddled along with him to keep him company. And the Herald called me, and they said, why they asked me why I was talking to him and what I was telling the story about. And I was like, well, you guys are coming up with all sorts of cool taglines, and you're putting us on the front page, like out of their gourds, and all these things that you had the
yeah. There's fun things you
pumpkin
can say about
text.
pumpkin. I remember that.
Right. Yeah. So this is, what are you doing? I says, well, if I can just be a part of a happy, feel good story instead of the death and destruction and everything else that seems to be taking up all of the space on the news, then I feel like I've done something pretty good. And part of that was my thought process. And I owned a spring water delivery business, local spring water delivery business, in the mid late 90s to early 2000s with my dad. And I delivered just about every 5-gallon bottle of water that we produced. And one of our customers was the Brockton Enterprise, which at the time was on Main Street, and they had 4 floors. And every Tuesday, every other Tuesday, I'd go in, and I would go to the classified section, the ad sellers. I would go to the president's office on the 4th floor, and I would go to the newsroom on the 2nd floor, I believe it was. And they had all these cubicles, and back then they had phones with cords that you actually had to push buttons on, and they had these boxes on the wall that were TVs, but they were square and big and heavy, and not very large or high def. And every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, I would go in and I would make my deliveries, and I'd go into the newsroom and I'd watch all these reporters, just hammering the phones, looking for the story. Who got stabbed? What happened here? What's going on there? And there were some sprinkles of good stories that you heard about, but walking by that, you just heard that they were looking for what's the latest thing that they have to write about. And never once did I ask them, do you like doing that? Right. I think that they like reporting, and I think you like providing the stories, and I think you like providing the education and understanding of what's going on in the community and the region and the nation. But I don't think that any reporter likes to talk about that stuff. But I never asked. And on this one Tuesday, I went in, as I always do, and say hello and what's the latest story on the line. And they're all working hard and head down and doing everything that they do. I put the bottles. I went down to my truck. All of 5 minutes, I walked back up, and every reporter is huddled next to each other, looking at the TV, and they're watching as the plane had hit the World Trade Center. And I saw for the first time true emotion. They were devastated. They weren't on the phone. They weren't looking to talk about the story. There was this moment in time when I realized that they're humans, just like all of us. And that was a pivotal moment in my life that I can remember. And as I was there, and I mean, what are the chances that someone can say that they were in a place like I was, not an employee, on 9/11, one of the worst days in history. And I realized that, we always remember where we are when these tragedies happen and everything else. But one of the things that I saw was a lot of those reporters in the following days found a ray of light somewhere. And if you look at the Enterprise, September 13th, 13th, 14th, somewhere around there were some really amazing stories, not written about the deaths and everything else. And that was there. We knew that. But there were stories about the convoys of police that were going down to support the New York City area. There were the convoys of welders and carpenters, and telling those people's stories. And if you looked past all the bad stuff, because it's there, it's always going to be there, and you found that good stuff, you found some incredible stories that were written in those following days that people really worked hard to deliver and find. And that's what it's all about, I think, in my own humble opinion. And like you just said, no one wants to write about a car accident. Nobody wants to write about a loved one being lost. No one wants to write about, coronavirus and COVID-19. Before this podcast, I was on another webinar with some people in New York, and I found out that two of my clients were diagnosed with COVID-19 and died last week.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I just sit here and go, there's plenty of that stuff out there. And it's always going to hit us in the face, but it's important for us to find, that ray of sunshine, that little ray of light. I just did one. Here's a story for you. Leah Romig. I don't know if you've seen her.
No, I hadn't.
So she's going to be on my podcast tomorrow. Interesting how that came about. Amy found a story, a picture on Facebook. For the last week and a half, she's been doing the Front Porch Photograph Project. So she's a photographer, and she goes around and she asks for a minimum donation of $25. And basically, other than the gas money, she takes all the money and she's donating it. So she's donating it, and she's doing cool stuff. So like, she was in Easton, she lives in Easton, but she went and photographed a bunch of families, and she went to Bill's Pizza and had them deliver pizza to the police and fire department. And
That's great.
She gave $200 to the food pantry. And then she did a bunch of houses in Norton yesterday, and she's going to have food delivered to the police and fire department. Really, really cool stuff, right? One of the things that's amazing about that, and that I talked to her about, is she's getting people to smile, right? She's going to photograph, and you got to smile. You can't be miserable. And I know we're all in the miserable a little bit. It's tough, so.
And those photographs now they're part of the record of what we've been through.
100%.
Those faces and people out on their porch, it shows you where we were then.
Right. And that's what you're doing, which is great, because what people are going to be able to see when this is all said and done down the road is they're going to be able to see that people overcame this overwhelming odds and were able to survive, and we were able to handle it, and we were able to get past it. And that's what a lot of what you guys are doing in all of these instances. I mean, when we think about in your career, like you had Y2K. I bet that was a fun one to write up about. I mean, the world was coming to an end because of the X's and O's or whatever it was, right. The codes and computers, Mars, SARS, swine flu, bird flu, Ebola, worst recession of all time, longest war of all time. All these things have happened over the course of your career. And the amazing thing is the dust has always settled, and we've always come out bigger, better, and stronger. But it's the stories that we remember, kind of like the story that you remembered for the young man with Springsteen. We remember the happy stuff, right? We remember
the faces, like the 9/11. I remember the faces of a firefighter and a photographer who went to the zone, like very close. And I always kind of remember 9/11 through their eyes because of what they shared.
Yeah.
But like today, you need to share, like you need to update. You have to do the hard stuff. You got to get the numbers updated. Remind people that there's cases out there.
Yep.
I mean, some towns for a while weren't reporting them, so so you still have to be that. You have to get those facts and get them to people. The meetings are all virtual. Get that information, but if you can tell people stories, I said, my problem has been actually I'm getting more leads than I can follow because it's really just me.
Yeah.
Which is a good problem to have.
How many stories do you do in a week?
It varies. I'm trying to think because I do some editing too. Like haven't, I have no idea. Maybe 6 to 8. It
Wow.
depends on the length and what they're doing. And then I get like last week I got a lot of I do reaching out. I got Dr. Mudd from Easton to write a column.
Mm-hmm.
He reached out to us. His son is in the New York City hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to share his story. And he said his son was basically physically and too emotionally exhausted to tell his own story. So Dr. Mudd did it, and that's on our page now.
Oh, that's a great
Really,
one.
really good piece.
Yeah.
You get what it looks like, what those guys are doing, going through the front line, and it brings it home because we said my mission is Easton and Mansfield, so I'm not out covering the big picture. I'm covering how it's
Right.
affecting us here.
Mm-hmm.
This morning, I found out the police chief in Mansfield had some connections. He helped get some donations of masks, needed masks. Some are going to Boston, some are going to Foxborough, some are going to Mansfield and Easton.
Cool.
And then trying to find imagery because I'm not really supposed to go anywhere for my sake and others. So people have been great about it. I'm like, I can come see you, but if you want to send me a picture, that's probably the wisest thing. And it's hard to not go out and cover stuff.
Right.
To an extent, though I'm tempted. When it gets nice, I'd like to go for a ride and maybe get pictures of everything empty or something like that. Just to
You want to know
see.
one of the amazing visuals, and if I give you a tip on good stories, I don't necessarily want a name drop, but those are always good. But I'll tell you one of the most impressive stories for me in my head was I've had to go out. I've gone out 4 times in 25 days. I have to get hay for my goats and feed for my chickens, and that's a story all in itself. But and I've gone out to get much needed groceries, not calculating our milk and whatever. But I went out the other day and I drove down Main Street in Easton, which Doug King and David Howe and other community members have just done such an amazing job of making that just small little Main Street, because Mansfield is a lot bigger, but a small little Main Street just absolutely beautiful. And I got to the church, I got to Immaculate Conception, and there wasn't a single car, and it was in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I sat there, and in one breath I said, "How sad," and then in the exhale I said, "How glad." Because people are adhering and they're staying in and they're keeping more than social distance, and the businesses that are making the tough decisions. Chandra at the Farmer's Daughter, she had to make the difficult decision for staying in because one of the reasons was people weren't being social distance. They weren't adhering to social distance. But I'll tell you, photographs of that and showing the importance of staying in, because there's some people that are going out and don't care. I just saw on Facebook yesterday, a guy got bit by a dog in Borderland, and he was taking pictures, but there's all these people and you're in open air and you're around, but there's 50, 60 people in a field. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, here Borderland's been like overwhelmed.
Oh, it's been nuts. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been there. I'm not going there. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here in my blue office with my dog, and go out and see the crazy 2-year-old that's screaming outside in the hallway, and hide out through all of this stuff. But it's I can't imagine how difficult it is. I mean, wanting to get the pictures and trying to stay
right. You want to be there. I've connected as an Eastern photographer, and we've been messaging that we might be sharing some pictures because she's got it.
There's a couple of great ones. There's a couple of great ones out there. So, but what are you? What are you seeing for you got any inside good stories that you're working on now that people should be on the lookout for that's coming out this week? Is there any?
Well, I got a few leads this week. One is the mass donation to the area. I've connected with another group on Facebook that's making masks. I got an email the other day from someone. There was a student attending OA from Germany whose school year has been canceled, cut short like everybody else, and now he has to go back to Germany unexpected. And they gave him, I think it was a parade. I don't have all the details yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow up with that. They tried to give him a nice send off because he was sad to leave and not be able to finish his experience here.
I've been seeing a ton of those parades. Those are hysterical.
Yeah, we actually had one through our neighborhood this morning. We had to look it up. It was the Plainville teachers. I live in Plainville. There was all these cars and balloons went through the neighborhood, and we didn't know why. I thought it was someone's birthday, but the Plainville teachers are driving around town today.
Yeah.
Saying hi to all these kids.
Yeah, I think I saw you posted something on that a little while ago. I was trying to do some last minute homework. I'll tell you, there's a funny one. I got to find it. I think it was in Millis. There was a 9-year-old that couldn't have his birthday his birthday party. So the community came together. I mean, the fire trucks and police cars, and they had this long row of cars that they decorated their cars and put streamers on and everything. And this is the funniest. It's the funniest thing. I got to find the video, put it on my Be Awesome page, because all these people are waving and cheering and all this. And one of the cars that goes by, just Tom Brady tosses a roll of toilet paper to the kid.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God, think about that. Like, you go through your life and all of a sudden, you know, you get older and your parents are having a get together or something, and you're in your 20s, and you go, hey, remember when you were 9 and they had that parade and somebody tossed a roll of toilet paper as a present for you? I mean, think about that. That's just, I mean, it was comical and sad at the same time that that's such a hot commodity that nobody can get to. So,
Right. And I would say, to do my own plug, is that if people have stories they want to share, I said I do have a Facebook page, not just for Wicked Local, and I have one just as editor, Donna Whitehead, and you can message me there. You can email. Actually, I made my own video, my own like audio. See, there's my email.
Oh, that's great.
So you can say, but it looks backwards.
I'm gonna take a picture of it. It's coming in right way.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have a story you want to share, just send it to me and give me all the details. If I can't write it up, we can at least put it in just what you gave me.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that was gonna be my next question, is how do people get a hold of you? Are you still looking for stories? But
always looking. I said I'm on my Facebook page a lot. I'm on I have a Twitter feed, and you said email is the best. You can get me anytime. Also, people might want to know that we have, you have to subscribe to Wicked Local, but right now all the stories related to coronavirus company-wide are being provided for free. So if it's important information, we're making sure people can get it.
Yeah.
If you see a story related to that you can't get, and it's local, email me. I might have just forgot to click the button. There's a button to click to make sure it's available, and it's just up to me to make sure I hit it every time.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get done with this. I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to re-enlist my, I found out that the Easton Journal isn't the Easton Journal anymore. So you can tell that I haven't had it delivered for a while. But this is a reminder for me of the importance of subscribing and supporting these great groups that are still putting together incredible content and stories. And it's because of people like you doing it. So I strongly suggest you don't just go for the free COVID-19 stuff. Subscribe, pay for, and support our local news folks, because they're doing some great stuff, and it gets us away from a lot of the bad that's going on. We're still going to hear about it. It's still going to be there, and still going to be stories written. But you're doing a phenomenal job, Donna. I am so honored and lucky to have gotten to meet you. I'm glad you got, if you hadn't come up to me at the end of the Easton Chamber of Commerce to talk to me and then take the time. I think I was in Orlando when we actually talked about the story.
Yeah, you were trying to track you down there.
I think I was in Orlando, Florida, one of my last trips. And, you're doing amazing work. Please keep those stories coming. Keep letting people know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if anybody needs to get a hold of you, I'll put your Facebook page, I'll put your email address, I'll put all that stuff on the Be Awesome page. And I hope this was enjoyable for you to be on the other side of the story, being the person that's getting the notes taken on and the video camera posted to. Hopefully can have you on here again.
Thank you. I appreciate the plug, and you keep doing what you're doing too. You're recording what's going on in Easton for posterity as well, and doing it and having fun with it, and keep it up.
Yeah. No, we're gonna keep doing this, and as I shared with you, I'm going nowhere until like July. So by then I should have about 300 episodes. Which, before I let you go, you need to listen to, because you were at the Easton Chamber of Commerce. I did a podcast on Saturday. I talk about that 3-ring binder that I got from the founder of Gloria Stevens.
Oh, okay.
He turned 90, and I had him on the podcast. He's fantastic. It was an amazing. I was hoping I just hope I can have it together as much as Mr. Mulkey had it.
I started to listen to the Union Villa one before I came on to get an idea.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing I learned is that his dad worked at Boston Edison, which is where my dad worked. So that was just a fun fact to learn.
Yeah, they had a great following. EJ is a longtime friend of mine. The Richard Callanan family, they're just amazing people, and love that Kat thought of the make your own pizza idea. I love that episode because I open up with, I'd like to come through and just slap you through the computer or whatever and tell the karate stories with EJ. But yeah, no, they're doing great things. There's so many great people out there right now that are doing amazing. Not necessarily amazing in the way that we look at it with incredible success and money and everything else, but amazing as human beings, and that's what we're going to keep sharing. So I'm going to let you go. I know you've got some bandwidth tie up with folks taking school at home, and you got
Right.
stories to write. But thank you so much for giving me your time and sharing some of your stories and sharing your favorite all time story. And the best is yet to come. I got a feeling you got plenty more great ones on the line here.
Thanks so much for having me. This has been fun. It's been a nice change of pace.
Good. Well, enjoy the rest of your Monday. To the Be Awesome listeners, thanks as always. This has been a changing of winds, a changing of tides, whatever you want to call it. This has been an interesting ride. I've got a lot of folks that are interested in being on the podcast and sharing their stories. I love getting to know people more that I in some cases don't know at all. In some cases, I've only had the opportunity to meet once or twice, like Donna, that are just doing phenomenal for sharing, caring, and trying to smile through all of this. And I hope everybody finds a way to smile today just a little bit. And as always, if you have someone that might want to be on the podcast, promote their business, promote what they're doing, share what they're doing, talk about the great that's going on around them. Email me, Josh, JOSH, at BeAwesome, BeAusm.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Look for Joshua Peach, or Be Awesome, and you'll find me. Message me. Please follow, like, share, comment, do all that fun stuff. If you do if you do a rating and review on a podcast platform, send me an email. I'll send you a t-shirt. Your time is so valuable, especially right now. And I value that. And the least I could do is give you a Be Awesome t-shirt. So in the meantime, always remember, if you can be anything, be awesome.